First off, every single match was better than 90% of the matches I've ever fucking seen in WWE. I hate to admit that shit, but that's the reality of it. The women's match, way better than any of the women's matches I've ever fucking seen in WWE. I'm 46 years old, and I think I just saw the greatest fucking match I have ever seen. The drama was there. The wrestling was amazing. There was no fucking botches. The whole fucking show from beginning to end, 4.5, almost 5 fucking hours of goddamn wrestling. It was fucking unbelievable.
This will be the first All In that I am actually watching, you know, with all of the context. This is the first AEW All In that I'll be watching where I have been watching the full previous year fairly consistently.
Like good show. It made me, you know what I mean? It made me rethink a lot of things. This is the first wrestling show I've watched through and through in probably weeks. I was hooked. I sat down right in front of the couch. I said, oh, this is good. Yeah.
All you WWE fans out there, don't just come at me saying how horrible AEW is. I'm okay with criticisms, but I think it has to be fair criticism. I was on a Twitter account, actually. They were just taking a dump on a Kenny Omega segment from last night, and I'm like, wait a second, none of this happened. All of your critiques mean nothing because they're saying things that just did not apply.
Again, I don't like putting companies against each other, but I will have to say this. WWE, after All In, I really hope to God that you guys have something in the works that can compete with that. I really do, because I am still a fan of wrestling first, no matter the companies. But as of this is going forward in my wrestling career, I really love AEW and its product.
Well, it seems an interesting thing has started to happen in the pro wrestling community, and that is that some people, possibly this could happen, have become more open to the idea of watching more than just WWE. It seems that there are a number of streamers that had this same expression following All In Texas. Now, how widespread this is, who really knows? Do I think it's going to be a sea change and AEW is going to be back to filling 10,000 seat arenas every single week next week? No. But I do think that the door is cracked open now to at least a significant enough amount of fans that it seems to have been a trend on social media the last couple of days that there is a possibility that we could be open to watching more than one wrestling company, which is something that fans like myself of pro wrestling, or all of us pro wrestling fans, keep trying to encourage to sports entertainment fans. We all like the same thing, and there's more than just the one company that you guys watch. Like, you can do that with every other entertainment genre. You can watch more than one TV channel. You can play PlayStation and Xbox. You can listen to more than one record label. That's just the point that we've been making, and perhaps that might be coming around. But there are, of course, those who have a lot of negative things to say following AEW's All In Texas. They followed up on Wednesday night with AEW Dynamite, which I thought was a really well done show. I think some people, the ones who probably didn't like it so much, were expecting a Raw after Mania. Now then again, for me, being a New Japan fan, this show actually really felt like an old New Year Dash show from New Japan following their big show of the year, Wrestle Kingdom. It was kind of structured in that way. You got introduced to some new feuds. You already knew the champion was going to face somebody he was familiar with in a multi-man tag match. I mean, that's straight up New Japan booking right there. So I enjoyed all of it. I love the Toni Storm spot. I thought she looked fantastic. The way they cut that promo of her on a balcony was a perfect venue for her. These venues that they're picking are extraordinary looking on television. And it's not like, oh, they're in some rinky-dink, school gymnasium. They're finding some really, really cool places to shoot Dynamite from, and it adds to mystique. And even though, they sold out at 1,200 people, it doesn't really matter. And that's a thing that the competition, I guess if you're going to call it that, but the big guys, the WWE thrives on that. They thrive on having those big crowds in this day and era. There are times in the past, even in the boom periods in the past, you can look at in the 1980s and some of the stuff in the 90s, the WWE was in really tiny venues for Monday Night Raw, for some of the Saturday Night Main Event shows, some of that kind of stuff. So that's not the entire history of the company, but right now, modern day WWE, without those big giant arenas, it's not the same. We saw it during the pandemic era. WWE is not the same without it being in front of these giant 10, 15, 20,000 seat crowds. So there's something to consider going forward, whether or not AEW has now found its little niche. Has it established itself as a number 2? Is it going to be able to break the curse of all the other wrestling companies that once they started going down, that was pretty much a sign that the end was incoming? Well, you know what we always say. Don't have a crystal ball, can't predict the future, but time will tell. Other wrestling news that are going on this week, the other thing that happened on Saturday was Saturday night's main event, which featured a match between Goldberg and Gunther, which actually was way better than I think people give it credit for. Probably one of the Goldberg's better matches turned out to be his last match, as this was his retirement match. His retirement got cut off by NBC. His retirement speech at the end of the show, which has brought up a lot of memes that are fairly interesting, but it didn't stop there, because Goldberg apparently in the press has expressed disappointment in his WWE retirement match, and he said he put the brakes on his son signing one of those NILs, which we talked about several months ago. You can go check my video archives on the channel for that. We talked about those NILs, and Goldberg is not letting his son sign one. Now, this came up because Scott Steiner and Rick Steiner, their sons are, or at least one of them is signed to an NIL deal with WWE, which basically means that coming out of college, there's possibly a spot for them in WWE to get fast-tracked. There were a lot of things he said. He complained about it being on Saturday night's main event and not a special show like a pay-per-view, but at the same time, it's a funny thing for him to say that, but because the Saturday night's main event shows are seen by more people than the pay-per-views. The pay-per-view audience is not anywhere near as big as an audience on a Saturday night's main event, so more people probably saw the full match instead of seeing clips of it, by it being on Saturday night's main event and getting a couple million people to watch it instead of, the 150,000 that'll get a PLE or pay-per-view or something like that. But anyway, regardless of that, plus it was also for the World Heavyweight Championship against a guy who's very much similar to him as far as being a physical dominant wrestler in Gunther. So I thought it was great, but he had problems. He also said, this is a quote from one of his interviews, "They cut me off freaking 20 seconds with a microphone in my hand, for God's sakes. I got 2 weeks, man. I got 2 weeks before I can really spill the beans and make my feelings kind of known about the entire rundown from the inception of the idea to its delivery. It was a little less than to be desired." And then he follows this up by saying, "Again, I'm not going to complain." And then the crazy guy on Busted Open Radio, he had a fit of.
You're complaining. You can't complain and then say, "Well, I'm not complaining." You just complained. You can't complain and then just say, "I'm not complaining." You're complaining. You're complaining, Goldberg.
I don't even know what that was.
I agree with him, but I'm not going to get as crazy as that guy got about it. It's not that serious, but it is funny here. He just lays out this giant complaint about his booking in WWE for his retirement match, and then goes, "Oh, I don't mean to complain, though." It is kind of weird, but Goldberg being Goldberg, who knows? We'll see what his sons do in his future. His son did play a part in that Saturday night's main event match, hopping over the rail, but like you said, he did not let his son sign that NIL. So we can look at it that way at least. He didn't get what happened to Kurt Angle for his last match in WWE. At least that didn't happen. There is a somewhat of an update right now on the Seth Rollins injury stuff. Look, I don't know what is to be made of this, and if you're not aware of what I'm speaking of, there was a rumor. This came from Brian Alvarez over on Wrestling Observer Radio. He was talking to Dave Meltzer. I know this triggers people already, but they were having a discussion about it. Meltzer indicated that someone had said to him that it was probably a work because they knew Thursday before Saturday night's main event that the plan on Saturday was for Rollins to have an injury, to be at Evolution on crutches, and to do this whole thing. However, it seems that from what everything else, everybody like myself and every other fan and people in the industry saw from looking at how Rollins injured himself, it looks like a legitimate injury. Is it possible that they were planning an injury and fate kind of bit you in the butt in there, and he wound up actually getting injured anyway? It's possible, but AEW does this a little bit, but WWE does it way more with this kind of making you think something is a work, is a shoot, but it's really a work. They've done it before, or they claim things that were shoots were works. It's there. Again, it's a wrestling company. You can't really trust what they say. They're in the business of deception. That's what the whole thing is. So, take that all with a grain of salt. So, I don't know right now. Rollins says he's going to be out for an indefinite period of time. He supposedly saw a knee specialist, and we'll have to wait and see as time goes on. It's clear, though, that it disrupted the show. The show did not. The rest of the Saturday Night's Main Event show got thrown in disarray because of the injury to Rollins. So I don't think whatever happened, I think something obviously did not go the way as planned. And Rollins' injury, hopefully a speedy recovery for Seth Rollins. It does derail a lot of things for WWE, but CM Punk is now going on to SummerSlam. He won an impromptu gauntlet match where they teased Braun Breaker and Gunther, only to have Punk beat Breaker at the end of the gauntlet, and now he will face Gunther for the world heavyweight or the heavyweight championship, whichever one. The one Gunther has at SummerSlam. There's also some other people taking time off. Will Ospreay is taking time off because he's been burning it at both ends of the candles. You have to remember Ospreay does travel every single week from the UK over to America or wherever AEW is. And that's a lot of miles. He's used to it. He did it to Japan for years and years and years. So I think it's not that big a deal for him. The reason that I've heard him given is that, with his wife and his son or stepson, however you want to say that, he doesn't want to take the kid out of school and disrupt his life by moving them not only out of the school he's in, but to a completely different country and completely different culture. I admire that. That's pretty cool. And Ospreay obviously making enough money now that, sometimes you got to give a little bit in order to have everybody else taken care of, which is, again, that's a cool thing that he's doing that for his kid. Not much new coming out, however, about Adam Cole. People have tracked down the moment he got injured on Collision, a clothesline from Kyle Fletcher. Again, a random routine maneuver, but this is probably the culmination of a bunch of things that happened. It's implied that it's another concussion injury. Again, the speculation's out there, nothing official as of time of this recording has been released. So, I'm just hopeful that Adam Cole can be healthy, and if he can continue wrestling, cool. If he can be involved in wrestling in any other capacity, that's great too. I don't think it's the last we've seen of Adam Cole on our screens. So again, let's just hope for the best for the guy. I did see some people already start going into some backstage conspiracy theories and all this other stuff about guys, that kind of stuff at this point in time, again, kind of a low blow, kind of not classy in my opinion. I mean, somebody's going to talk about it, but I'd rather not be that kind of a person. So, you kind of question some of the decisions or some of the bumps that Adam took, but that's a discussion for a different time period. I want to know what you guys think about these things, though. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Are you looking forward to Gunther and CM Punk for the WWE Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam? What do you think about the change, the possible sea change, that we might have wrestling fans again? It might be spreading that we just watch wrestling shows, and if they're good wrestling shows with good wrestlers in them and decent stories, we might actually be open to watching them. I know it's a revolutionary concept, but let me know. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I'll see you guys here for more news, rumors, and reviews. We've got the demo downloads over on the gaming channel, so go check that out at Rantin Review Gaming. And of course, this weekend, the G1 Climax starts in New Japan Pro Wrestling, so we will be covering that on the channel as well. Again, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when those videos come out. And until next time, I'll see you guys here. Have a good day. I don't even know what that was.